$1 million. That same father asked, the most successful financial person in our church, when are you going to make your first million? And the guy laughed, that was 10 years ago. Would $1 million make you secure? You're already there, aren't you? Yeah, okay. What about 10 million? You want to think about your family and your children? I have grandchildren now. I got to think about that. I got to think, more than I was thinking before. That sounds like a pretty good retirement, doesn't it? But if you think bigger, what about $1 billion? Can your mind put that together? $1 billion? Well, I'm not there yet, but I like saying the word $1 billion. I wouldn't have a problem. Would I have had that much money? Financially secure, I'd say, children, grandchildren, be fruitful and multiply. I got you covered. How about if the world's richest people had $50 billion? That's a large fortune. And I know that there are people out there that have been successful. But can you really feel secure even if you have that much of a possession? I don't know if you recognize the pictures here, but that's Shahzada Dawood. He's 48 years old. And his son, who was 19, they made the headline news because they are one of the richest Pakistani families, and yet they paid $250,000 apiece to be on that submersible vessel that went down to see the Titanic. And of course, it was a fatal expedition that cost the father his life and his son and all of the 5 men that were on board. That family had great wealth, and they were willing to spend it in order to explore further. But that didn't give them security. Regardless of how much money that you have, we always have to kind of worry about thieves, don't we? Robbers, stock market crashes. You don't have to tune into the news, but every day, and you'll see somebody robbing somebody because they've got cameras everywhere. I have a camera at my front door. We were on vacation, enjoying seeing family and friends 3 states away. And all of a sudden, at 3 o'clock in the morning, my wife gets this buzz alert. Police are at our door. Well, I said, what could it be, And so I called them the next morning, and they just read the report. Someone lost control of their car and ran head-on into our mailbox. Now, our mailbox is not just a single post with a nice little thing. When we bought the home, it had a fortress around it. It was all brick, double layered. If they hit our mailbox and leveled it so that there's not one brick laying upon another, they had to have ruined their car. And when I talked to the lady, she said, I am so sorry. I said, were you hurt? No. But my truck, my Chevy Silverado was completely demolished, and I can believe it. Well, we may have cameras out there that telling us that they're robbers. There's people that lose control of their cars. There's things that happen. What about war? During times of war, we're seeing what happens. People that are living good lives, and all of a sudden war takes place and they lose everything. Everything taken away. It makes you think, doesn't it? Well, of course, most of us are probably getting by in this life on smaller amounts. I don't know about you, but I don't think in those big terms. There was a time when I was thinking from paycheck to paycheck. I was wondering if we were going to make, everything by the end of the month. I was glad that I married a nurse who was willing to work while I was studying. but we were able to make it. Sometimes we just said, well, you know, if we're going to really make it, we're going to have to let the insurance go. Let's drive without that, or let's let the health insurance go. A lot of people think that way, as I can do without this and I can do without that. In fact, I'm just going to let the government take care of it. Have you ever had those thoughts? Well, you know, you can never really be secure if you're thinking that way, especially as far as the government is concerned. And of course, I don't know if you've ever gotten a phone call, something in the mail. Here's the way you're going to get rich quick. I'm all for that. I have read it. I get excited when I used to see it as a child. I would say, ooh, I could have that. Today's your lucky day because you answered the phone. Our regular presenter, Ellie Green, told me a story this week about someone that called her and said, congratulations, you have just struck it rich. You have won $6 million. And they said, aren't you excited that you've won this money? And she said, no, I don't need it. My father is a king. Thanks anyway, and hung up. I went, well, I think I might have talked a little longer. How about you? But when you've been around enough, you know a scammer. In fact, your phone kind of alerts you from time to time, possible scam. You can't believe everything you hear, but there are people out there saying you can get rich quick. Well, you see there, I'm getting hopeful because I got an anniversary coming up, and we're going to the beach. And a lot of people, when they think the future, they think, man, I want that future right now. If you just send me, scammers will say, if you'll just send me so much money, or give me your bank account number. I don't know if you've ever had that before. You'll win a free vacation. They're out there. So I did not fall. That's not why I'm taking Valerie to the beach. We saved up. We got ready. We have it. We're going to go and we're going to enjoy it. 45 years, okay? And I remembered. So I'd like for you to look at the number of people who spend their money on a lottery ticket. I'm not going to ask if you've ever bought a lottery ticket, but when I'm going up to get my receipt for my gas purchase, I see people in front of me. I want 2 of those. I want 3 of those. I want 4 of those. All buying lottery tickets, looking for a way out. Our chance of winning the jackpot to receive $1,000 a day for the rest of our life, here are your odds, 1 in 38 million. But if somebody's going to win it, it could be me. I'm going to go. The odds of getting hit by lightning are 1 in a million. I know 2 people that have been struck by lightning and lived to tell about it. One is my wife's mother. And of course, the odds of getting a snake bite, I'm not going to say venomous, but getting a snake bite is 1 in 37,000. You have the odds of a snake bite it's a better chance for you to get a snake bite than it is for you to win the lottery. I've never been bit by a snake. I usually give them room and so forth. But consider your odds. Where should you be investing if those are your odds of making it big? We do not live by chance. We don't die by chance. If you believe that God is in control of your life, Psalm 139 supports that. He has a plan for our security. He's not just going to stick us out there to fail and lose, and He has a plan that we might gain success and have security as we live in this earth. His plan works just as well for the poor and for the rich. So when you believe in a God whose plan never fails, it gives me confidence when I talk about the principles of God's plan for our financial security. Now, life's a little uncertain. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know if somebody's going to hit my new mailbox that's going to be built for me tomorrow. But I got to tell you, while I said, oh no, this is all I have to deal with is another problem. My neighbors surprised me. They called up and said, we're going to clear all the bricks out so you'll have a place to drive in. So as I'm picking up the bricks the first day I get back, they come out and they said, let me help you. In fact, one guy says, what are you going to do to get rid of it? And I said, I don't know. I got to get it out of the way first. They said, put it on my trailer and I will dispose of it tomorrow. There's 250 bricks in there. I don't know. It was a lot. The guy said, that's too much for you to be lifting. He goes and gets one of these bobcats and shovels it up, puts it on the trailer for me. I'm not asking anybody. I'm just out there. So one person destroys, and I've got 5 people that have come to my rescue. I got a guy that can fix that for you. Here's the bid. The insurance is going to take care of all of that. In just one day, all of that was taken care of. Don't you just love the fact that when things look bad and life looks uncertain, God says, I got a blessing here, and I'm going to bless you with getting better acquainted with your neighbors. I haven't been over there to take them any sweet rolls or anything. They saw the need and they came to help me. Now, I just love it that if God can take a bad problem and turn it into success for you, then I'm saying, hey, God's probably got a long-range plan for me as well. And so I want to tap into that. Now, I'd love to do a tour of all of your homes to see where you live. But we can have the nicest of homes. We can have an alarm system, a security system, and we can believe that we're secure. And do you know, we can have our mortgage paid for. I'm out of debt. I have no mortgage at all. I'm glad that we followed God's plan and it worked. We're feeling all great about this great plan that I've done. And do you know, the next moment, a fire can come in and destroy it all. Life is uncertain in that particular way. That's why living a life in partnership with God is essential. Even if we work 40 hours, and I hear people that work 80 hours, I have not been one of those that have worked 80 hours in a week. But you can have all of that and discover in one moment, just went to the doctor, and you can get bad news in a hurry, can't you? I got good news. I was able to go to Valerie and say, all my numbers are in the normal, off of my back. But you know, of course, that's not always the case. You can get a bad report, even though it seems like you've done everything right. We all know that personal debt is at an all-time high. I once went on a cruise. Someone else paid for that cruise, and I'm going, look at all the people that can afford to go on that cruise. And my brother-in-law, he's a financial guru, he goes, now listen, most of the people that are on this cruise have not paid for it with money that they have saved. They just credit carded. And that's how they went. We want the event and the experience now, and we'll pay later. Some people max out their personal credit cards, and they can hardly afford the interest on those payments. If you live in that world, there's a better way. Now, did you get nervous this week when you saw our credit rating for our country went down? Went from what, AAA to AA? That means that the market out there says, we don't believe that you can pay your bills. Well, look at this. 2004, the national debt, $2 trillion. Anybody remember when it first turned over $1 trillion? I remember the report. They said, do you know what that looks like? They went through it. Now it's 2004. It was $2 trillion. Today, look at that number. 2023, the national debt is $32 trillion. That means that every single person in America has a debt of $96,274 to pay. That's our debt for everybody in the United States. We have seen other countries go bankrupt. Do you think that that can happen to us in the United States? Well, we're well on our way to coming to a collapse. That's why I want to get to the Bible, the book of Revelation. The book where Jesus reveals things that are going to happen in the future. And these are the things that are going to take place right before the time when Jesus comes. In the 18th chapter of Revelation, the fruit that your soul longed for has gone from you, and all the things which are rich and splendid have gone from you, and you shall find them no more at all. Anybody willing to say that they are hoarders? Of course not. Nobody's going to. My mother is a hoarder. My sister is a hoarder. They're almost to the point where they won't let me in the house. And so, knowing that I have that in my heredity, I want to say, you need to get rid of this stuff because, you can't take it with you and it can go at any moment. So we cannot be tied to things because the future before Jesus comes is that it's all going to be taken away. Revelation predicts the greatest economic collapse in history. It's not going to be just a depression or a setback. It is a worldwide economic collapse. Do you feel secure with your money in the bank? It will most likely be worthless. There is no security aside that of Jesus. I'm glad my father had his confidence in Jesus, but he didn't have a lot of confidence in banks. He's one of those that took his money and stashed it in those mason jars and then hid it all these places in the house. I didn't know that he did that. He had a bank account, a checking account, all that stuff. But his real security is he says, I'm putting it where nobody can get to it. And 2 years before he passed away, he took me on a tour of the mason jars. I said, I'm going to remember all of this. He says, okay, I'm going to tell your sister too. So between the two of us, we found all the mason jars and took that money and put it in the bank. Is it going to be secure in the bank? Our real security is in our Lord Jesus Christ. Now, the merchants of these things who became rich by her will stand at a distance for fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, for in 1 hour such great riches came to nothing. Revelation 18. So look at that this afternoon, if you would. Revelation 18 tells us what's going to take place. I'm so glad we're in a nice, secure place, that we talk freely about God and the future. But there's a time coming when that will change. God clearly warns us in His Word that there will be a terrible financial crisis, and it's going to happen just before the time when Jesus will come. That's why it's silly to hoard stuff. Say, okay, I'm keeping this. I'm not going to get that away. Now, if you look in my garage, you think I might be a little bit of a hoarder because I can use that tool. I can use that. I don't want to get I don't want to. I can use that later. Hoarders always say, I can still use it and find a place for it. Some people do that with clothes as well. That's why we need to live and to rest in the fact that we are going to be involved in the Lord's work, because all of this is going to come to naught. In James 5, in the first few verses there, it says, "Come now, you rich, weep and howl for your miseries that are coming upon you. Your riches are corrupted and your